Even though I expect a short-term correction for Bitcoin and altcoins, this is not game over for Bitcoin in the crypto industry. In fact, it's the complete opposite. But what it is the game over for is actually the US national debt and US spending. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the implications of the One Big Beautiful Act being passed and Elon Musk's comments on this bill and yeah, how it's going to impact the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency market. So guys, if this video sounds interesting to you already, then make sure to destroy the like button and subscribe to become a crypto kid. And guys, please wish me luck. Tomorrow I have one of my so there's 3 exams left before I graduate. One is tomorrow on UK government and politics. Then, interestingly enough, on Tuesday next week, I have American politics. And then, well, on Monday, I also have a third business paper. So hopefully it'll go as to plan. And then as soon as school is over, we can devote even more time that I have, even more time into cryptocurrency. So let's begin with the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin 104.8, a little bit of a head and shoulders-ish pattern forming on the daily time frame. Not too big of a concern. Like I said, worst case scenario is we retest to 95, which, I mean, we've been longing Bitcoin between 77 to $92,000 and only one additional small margin position at 104 over on Weeks, which if you want to trade Bitcoin, you can go to Weeks using the link in the description down below to sign up and begin trading. I think even if we do come down to 95, which is the 200 daily moving average, I really don't see an issue. So worst case scenario, we bounce from 95 and then pump to the upside. However, I think the more likely scenario is that we start pumping from 103, or we come down to the 50 moving average, which is at 99.8, retest the resistance of this consolidations trend line, and then we continue pumping to the upside. So those are the likely scenarios. I don't see Bitcoin dumping below 95. So overall, super bullish, and M2 money supply, of course, is still massively bullish. Talking about the M2 money supply, here is one thing that's going to cause the M2 money supply to go even higher. It already has a prediction for Bitcoin in the $130,000 to $150,000 range that's already written in stone. Bitcoin is going to go to those levels most likely. However, something that can potentially increase Bitcoin's price even more is the approval of the Big Beautiful Bill Act. If you guys are not familiar, this is President Trump's mandate bill that he wants to get passed during his government to increase the amount of spending, to increase the amount of budget allocated for individual states, and inject economic stimuli. But why everybody's shocked about this bill is because it's also completely the opposite way. The opposite, it will create the opposite effect of reducing the deficit. In fact, all the efforts of the Department of Government Efficiency and all the tariff revenue generated will completely go into the bin because the Big Beautiful Bill will have so much spending and will allow so much money printing that whatever you generate from the Doge department, or from from tariff revenue, it's not going to be able to offset the new amounts of money printing added, and you're not going to be able to save the U.S. national debt. You're going to completely increase it by so much more, and it's just not going to be good for the American economy. However, obviously, if there is an increase in the total money in circulation, which is what this bill will do, it will create more debt. More debt means more money, so more money supply and circulation. More money supply and circulation means the dollar will continue losing value, and it will probably accelerate its current monetary debasement even more. It's already at 9% per year-ish. It will probably accelerate into the 10-15%. And because you trade Bitcoin against the US dollar, and Bitcoin being a commodity that's designed and now accepted as a hedge against this issue, it will continue skyrocketing even more than what we expect it to do. So I think a $200,000 Bitcoin is possible, especially if this bill is approved in Congress, and it looks like it may. Elon Musk is saying that it shouldn't, and he's saying kill the bill because it's going to increase American spending, which we don't want it to, which we don't want to happen for the benefit of the American economy and the global economies. As a Bitcoin investor, I'm biased because if this bill is approved, then obviously Bitcoin's price will increase much more dramatically. But even if it doesn't, Bitcoin still looks like it's going to go up. So I'm not too concerned. However, if this bill is passed, government spending will increase, economic stimuli will be injected, and that's going to cause more money in circulation, causing the dollar to devalue and causing, in short, the price of Bitcoin and other altcoins, to Bitcoin specifically, to increase a lot in value. Over on crypto Twitter, people have highlighted that Bitcoin will save this from happening. If the government does put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, then it will at least help stabilize the U.S. debt, and hopefully try to make efforts to reverse the upside on national debt and try and bring it a bit to the downside. Now, we know that Howard Lutnick and Scott Bessent are already massive Bitcoin bulls. And I just think that Bitcoin is going to be added to the American balance sheet. It's expected to be done this month, mid-June. So in like 1.5 weeks' time, the crypto working group, David Sachs, they will deliver a solution to buy Bitcoin via the US government in a budget neutral way. And I think they're going to do it. And I think the American government, or the Trump administration specifically, exactly knows that Bitcoin is going to be an important play to counter the growing US national debt. I think they're aware of it. And I think they know the debt is going to continue growing, but at least Bitcoin will help reduce it or stabilize it. That's why the entire administration owns Bitcoin and crypto. You know, JD Vance, President Trump, he's now raising $2.5 billion to buy Bitcoin. There's another politician in the Trump administration just announcing that he bought $1 million worth of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Like everyone in the Trump administration, Howard Lutnick, they all own Bitcoin and crypto. And I think there's a very good reason for it. They know what they're doing, and they are going to push Bitcoin and crypto to the frontier to make sure that there is something to hedge and combat the things like the big beautiful bill, which will increase spending and devalue the dollar. And now you're looking at prediction markets saying that there is a potential base case spending of $407 billion by the end of 2025, completely eradicating all the cuts made by Doge and all the efforts made in tariff revenue reduction. This was what President Trump said about the bill. He said that he's very pleased to announce that after all these years, he agrees with Senator Elizabeth Warren on something. The debt limit should be entirely scrapped to prevent an economic catastrophe. It is too devastating to be put in the hands of political people, so on and so forth. So now they're considering completely eliminating the debt ceiling, which is insane. If you guys remember, if you were watching this channel back in 2023, I made a video on this, June 2023, exactly 2 years ago, when the national debt was sitting at $33 trillion, which was the debt ceiling back then. So when it hit the debt ceiling, the Congress had to come together and say, you know what, we have to increase the debt ceiling because we need to print more money to pay off our debts. Otherwise, the government will go into a shutdown and America will default on its debt, which is a non-probable scenario. They're not going to let that happen. And that's why they need to continuously print money, as there is no way of offsetting the increase in US national debt. It's not going down. It's not been going down for so long. It's only rising exponentially. And now we're hitting another limit. And that's why they're going to increase the debt ceiling once more. And when they do that, they're going to print more money, or they're doing it because they have to print more money. This will increase the M2 money supply, and it will increase the price of Bitcoin long term. So if you buy Bitcoin and you hodl it at least for 4 years, there's a very, very, very high probability that you're going to be in significant profits. House Speaker Mike Johnson said that he called Elon Musk last night regarding his comments about the big beautiful bill, but he didn't answer. Then you're seeing the dollar value reduce by 8.72% already in the past 6 months since the beginning of 2025. This will accelerate. If the dollar falls in value, Bitcoin's price will increase in value automatically. The 10-year bond is seeing a drop in interest rates, still very high, but you can see that investors are cautious about inflation and the US national debt, so they want to invest into safe assets like the bond market. And it's good because, well, that means the US will be able to refinance $7.6 trillion of debt through the bond market via auctions in summer, and that's going to add to the money printing more. You know, money printing is inevitable. It's written in destiny, and it will push the price of Bitcoin to the upside. Today was the supposed deadline for countries to come to the US and present their new trade deals. That doesn't appear like it's happening, which is a negative thing for the short term and only for the short term for the markets. But it looks like, you know, at some point we are going to get some sort of trade deal. I think, hopefully. I don't think it's going to be soon. It will be more elongated and it will take some more time. But I think at some point we're going to have the trade deals announced, and when they are announced, then markets should hopefully pump. Trump also made a comment to Powell saying that they should cut rates because the European Union is doing it. But what I don't know. I mean, look, you just need to understand, I'm addressing the audience, you guys, that the European Union has a different set of data to look at and decide if they should reduce rates or not, whereas the US has a completely different set of metrics to determine if the US should cut rates or not. So it's not fair to compare the EU and America and say, hey, look, EU is reducing rates, but America isn't, because there is a completely different data set. The EU has reached their inflation target much sooner than America has. That's why they were able to cut rates faster. And they don't have the same uncertainties that America is facing. And I give Powell the full, I think Powell is doing the most, the best thing possible by keeping rates where they are. Because first of all, tariff inflation will only be projected into the CPI report 6 to 12 months after their first introduction, which was February. So technically until 2026 February, you cannot make the justification that tariffs are non-inflationary because it takes a long time for it to reflect on CPI. And on top of this, you're seeing geopolitical tensions continuously rise. And then finally, there was one more thing. Well, the US national debt, what's going to happen there? They're going to print a bunch of money. So that's going to affect inflation too. So what is the guy supposed to do? You know, there's just so much uncertainty, and he's been highlighting it for every single FOMC and Fed meeting. I think he's doing the right thing. And there's even a chance that we don't get a rate cut this year, meaning that altcoin season will almost definitely be pushed into 2026. And in conclusion, guys, the M2 money supply is going to go up, liquidity is going to increase, and the price of Bitcoin is going to go up. So no, it is not game over for Bitcoin and crypto, but it is most likely for US spending, and it will have a complete adverse effect on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, pushing prices to higher levels. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care and have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you all on the next video very soon. Take care, and as always, bye-bye.